You probably don't know the name Lauren Cleary. Lauren appeared on a game show called The Moment of Truth. The premise of the show is actually pretty simple. Surrounded by your family and friends, you're hooked up to a lie detector, and you're asked a series of questions. If you answer the questions correctly, according to the lie detector, you move on to the next round. If you don't, well, then you lose everything. Well, Lauren had breezed through the first few rounds, no problem. She got to the $100,000 question, and for that question, a special guest came out onto the stage. It was Frank, her ex-boyfriend, and with her husband sitting 10 feet from her, Frank asked her, "Do you think that you should be married to me instead of your husband?" And Lauren paused, and she said, "Oh, I have to be honest, yes." And then it was time for the $200,000 question. "Since you've been married to your husband, have you been unfaithful to him?" And she said, "Yes." And her parents looked shocked, but she was telling the truth again. And so now she had a choice. She could either keep the $200,000, go home with it, or she could go for the $500,000. So she decided to go on, and the host asked the question, "Do you think you're a good person?" And she said, "Yes." The lie detector busted her. She was lying. She couldn't even convince herself she was a good person. She was lying about what everybody in the audience knew to be the truth. Are you a good person? We may not like the answer to that question, but we'd all have to admit that we're hiders too. We hide how we really feel about people because we don't want them to know how we really feel. We hide our bad thoughts. We hide our insecurities. We hide our crazy. Why? We don't want to be exposed, and so we hide who we really are. Now, if we had been God, we would have done what Lauren's husband did after that show and left. But that's not what God did. He loved you too much for that. Instead, God got angry. But it wasn't at his unfaithful people. It was at Satan. The first promise of Jesus was not a gentle whisper meant to comfort God's lost people. No, it was a booming rant meant to terrify his worst enemy. "I will put hatred between you and the woman, and between your offspring and hers. He will crush your head, and you will strike his heel." And the whole rest of the Old Testament is the story of this jealous God's love who made that promise come true. Yeah, Satan, you're gonna strike at Jesus' heel by killing him on a cross, but he is gonna crush your head with his first step out of that grave. God was promising to take the bad away that separates us from him by sending Jesus. Now, that's a welcome promise. Tomorrow I'm going to be talking about a welcome description. So hit subscribe, and if you've got thoughts or questions, comment below, and we'll see you tomorrow. Jesus is all about peace. But have you ever noticed how the world gives its own ways of getting to peace? You know, the world will say like, "Oh, peace and happiness, it's all about..."